What's up, people? YouTube, this world here, beginning, guys. Another video to my channel, and today we are doing a Red Dead Redemption 2 review. Now, the game's been out for a while. I think by the time I get this up, it will have been about a week and a half, somewhere around there. And the game is absolutely stunning, guys. It's very, very good. So I am going to cover my overall opinion of Red Dead Redemption 2 here. Now, this is going to be spoiler-free. I'm not going to be showing any gameplay of storyline, spoilers, anything like that, and I'm not going to be discussing that at all. So to reassure you that I'm not going to spoil anything major for you, I do just want to let you guys know that this review is going to encompass the core mechanics of the game. So I think we all already know, even from like the videos on YouTube and stuff, the story is really good. Like the plot that it follows is good. I'm not even going to cover that as it being a factor in the actual review here. And this, I'm going to be covering things like the graphics, the mechanics of the games, down to the details and the things along those lines and how certain mechanics work, as well as the character, the story building aspects, and the characters that are involved in the story, as well as how the world interacts with you. So that is what's going to be determining the core part of this game, because while there's a lot of games that can have a fantastic story, like Red Dead definitely has a fantastic story, but the rest of the game can just be absolutely crap, basically. So I'm going to cover all of that in here. I'm going to give you my total overall opinion, and I'm going to let you guys know exactly what I think of this game, and I think it's going to line up pretty similar with a lot of people. So the first thing that I'm going to cover here is going to be the graphics portion of the game. So the graphics are surprisingly good, and if you guys didn't know, this is the first title that Rockstar has actually released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. GTA 5 was originally out for the 360 and the PS3, and then they ported it over to the Xbox One and PS4, but it just had slight graphic upgrades. It wasn't a completely new title being released on the hardware of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So it's a lot different. You're going to see a lot better graphics and details, as you guys have seen in the gameplay that's all over the internet right now, and I'm definitely impressed with the graphics. I think that for an open world game, it is very, very good. Now, the first thing that really blew my mind when it came to graphics was the render distance. If you sit up on top of a mountain and you outlook over a valley, you can see absolutely everything, and it's so gorgeous and amazing. I love the way that the water looks. I love the way that the sky looks. The grass, the animals, it all looks amazing. Some of the best that I've ever seen, especially in an open world game. Now, render distance is just, it's phenomenal. I don't think that there's another game that's out right now that has done better when it comes to render distance. The next one here is the cutscenes. So in the story or in side missions, how do the cutscenes look? And while I will say that it looks amazing, it's not the best I've ever seen. It doesn't hold up with Detroit Become Human. I wouldn't even say it holds up with Spider-Man in terms of cutscenes, how well they look and are animated and stuff. But it looks very, very good for, once again, it being an open world game. The cutscenes are not weak by any means. It's going to beat out most other games on the market. I'm just saying it's not the best of the best. Now, the detail in items, it's insane. The fact that you can carve things into your weapon, you pick up cans of things that you can literally look at the labels, and you go into stores and you can buy stuff off of the shelf. The details in the items is spectacular. Like, some of the stuff you can even go down and see, like the stitching on stuff. It's just absolutely insane, guys. And this is going to be really gruesome, but for example, when you shoot somebody in the head, and this was in the first Red Dead, but when you shoot somebody in the head and a bullet goes through their head, they don't just fall on the ground and then there's a pool of blood underneath them. You see the bullet hole entry and exit on their skull. Like, it's just, the immense amount of detail is crazy. You shoot somebody in the back, the lower part of their back, just randomly, that bullet hole is going to show there. And it's just really cool to see details like that. And it's not just some random little red dot. Like, it literally looks like an entry wound. And I think that that is something that really adds to the realism and the immersiveness of the game. So graphics overall it's a 9 out of 10 for me. Aside from random NPCs and just weird clipping on a few things and the cutscenes not being the best, it's a 9 out of 10 in terms of graphics, and I think it's fantastic. The next thing that we're going to talk about here is going to be the mechanics of the game. So I'm just going to go ahead and acknowledge the one negative thing when it comes to the mechanics. That is the fact that they are very confusing. I'm pretty far into the game at this point in terms of just the world, and the mechanics of the game are just so... There's so much, but they're so confusing. I fumble with stuff all the time, and trying to get through menus and holding L1 on certain things and letting go. It can be really confusing. That's probably the biggest downfall of a game this big, having so many different options. But let's get into the stuff that's actually really good about the mechanics. So, like I had just said, there's tons of options, tons of different things that you can do, from cleaning your weapon to just the way that it reloads, the way you put it back into your holster. There's tons of options with your horse and the saddles and the clothing that you wear and the way that you choose to hunt, which the hunting is amazing, by the way. And that's also a little bit of a negative in a way, because the hunting is also very, very, very hard. I wouldn't say it counts against the game. It just shows that you really have to work in this game to get the skins that you need to craft the gear. Going all the way down to having to eat and maintain your cleanliness and showering and eating, all that stuff is so amazing. It's also kind of tedious, but it adds to the game in a really positive way. But it does take away in some aspects of, like I said, things being really confusing, trying to maintain everything all the time. But it doesn't break the game either. So it's a weird mix where you can choose to do things if you want to. You don't absolutely have to, but it definitely benefits you if you do. So that's kind of where we're at. Ultimately, me as a gamer, I love the realism. I'm not really complaining about the fact that it's there. I'm just simply letting you guys know this is the effect that it has if you have not purchased the game yet, or if you were just starting out. That is going to be there, and it's going to be something to where, at least me personally, I don't want to run through the story. You know, I want to go do a mission with somebody. I want to come back, and then I want to go hunt for these 3 animals that I need to craft this satchel so I can carry more gear, or to upgrade my friend's tent, or something along those lines. So that way it just gets better and I become stronger and build throughout the story, because I can run through the story. I can go and I can complete all of these quests super fast, but then I miss out on all the realism and the detail and just like the hunting and that whole aspect, the mechanics of the game. Overall, I would give the mechanics in Red Dead 2 an 8.5 out of 10. It's just, there's so much there. I don't expect them to get it perfect, but because of that, I have to give it an 8.5 out of 10, as if that's some sort of a bad rating. But yeah, 8.5 out of 10. It's just there's a lot to it. Now let's move on to the character building / story a little bit, and the overall world and how it interacts with you. So this is the thing that has absolutely blown my mind all the way to the max with this game. And I've never played a game with so many characters that I care about. Like I said, I won't get into spoilers, but I've never played a video game where I get so attached to the people that you would think, if it was like any other video game, they would just be there. You know, they're just kind of in the area. But no, there's 5, 6, 7, 10 maybe people that I want only good things to happen for, that I feel like are my partners, and you, even if you don't get along with all of them, they're important to you as Arthur Morgan, and that is really, really cool. It's some of the best story building and character building that I have seen since probably The Last of Us. But The Last of Us was just 1 to 2 people that you were character building with. It wasn't an entire, like, tiny army of people that you're bonding with and have all these backstories. I remember there was this cutscene where it wasn't even a really cutscene. We were just riding to go fishing someplace, and Hosea and Dutch start talking about this, the history of Dutch and Arthur and Hosea, and going fishing and doing these fun things that really lets you see some insight on their life before this game. It doesn't, other games don't do it the way that this game does. Everything feels so casual and real. You know, having a conversation, walking to a building, having a conversation on a boat while you're fishing for skins and things like that. It's amazing. I really, really like it, and that kind of leads me into another thing I want to talk about, and that is the amount of dialect that's in this game. There's so many little tiny throwaway side quests that you just kind of come across and run into, where Arthur doesn't repeat the same thing a million times. You know, you're not going to run into another side quest an hour later and him say the exact same line to to a completely different character with a completely different issue. Each time that you run into somebody and you're having to, you know, acknowledge them and talk to them, Arthur's words and dialect have been crafted specifically for that moment. And that's not like other games. Like, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I think that's a great game too. But anytime I get involved in a side quest, the person that I'm playing as has like 5 or 6 different things that they say by default to every single person that they run into when accepting a side quest. Like, I saw that you needed help. I'm here to help you. Or, then they'll explain that problem. They'll say, okay, I'll help. Or, okay, I'll take care of that. You know what I mean? Instead, it's like, in this game, somebody gets bit by a snake, or somebody gets captured and is being kidnapped, and you chase him down and you save him, and Arthur will be like, that guy must have been really bad news for you. Like, I'm sorry that you had to deal with him, or I killed him. He's not gonna kidnap you again. Stuff like that. Like, they're interactive with each individual activity rather than it just being some bland normal statement, and that is really, really cool and really, really immersive. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the world as it is, and I already talked about the side quests and about how stuff just kind of fall on you, so I won't touch on that anymore, but that's really cool. Also, I want to talk about just the environment. So I love the way that the water is in this game. It looks great, it feels great. You can feel the resistance that the water gives you when you're in it. It just feels really nice. I like how tall things actually are scary. When you're riding your horse and you aren't paying attention, you come up to something that it's like, oh, that is a far drop. You do not want to go down that. I mean, it's not like the first Red Dead where your horse just jumps down it and it's just whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to take falls. Things can look intimidating. The world with the animals and like the alligators in the bayou, it's intimidating to be in that area because there's so many of them and you're at such a risk of getting killed. It really is intimidating, and that adds so much to the world. The mud physics are really good. There was this one point where I was riding my horse and I think he tripped over a rock or something and I flew off of him. This was the first time it happened, and I just face planted into the dirt, and I stood up and I was covered in mud, and my imprint was left in the mud where I had landed. And this wasn't a cutscene. This wasn't anything fancy. It was just a random part of the world that I was riding around in. And my mind was just blown. I was like, what? That is absolutely sick. And that is what I mean when it comes to the world being immersive. The snow, or like I got into a gunfight earlier. I was playing last night. I got into a gunfight with some people that were trying to rob me. I killed them. I rode off to do something. I came back. Their bodies were still there, but now there were birds pecking at them. Like, that stuff is what I love about this world, and it's just such a great atmosphere to be playing a video game in. The last thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to this category is Arthur Morgan. Arthur Morgan has just an amazing personality for the role that you're playing. He's this really rugged, rough and tough cowboy. He's not bland. The stuff that he says at the right moments is hilarious. He's blunt about things. He doesn't take anybody's bullshit. And I love that in every single aspect that you can imagine. It's one of the best video game characters that you play as in a game that I've ever played. So overall, the character, story, and the world and everything that has to do with it, I give it a 10 out of 10. I think it is absolutely perfection. Hands down, probably the best open world game we have ever gotten in terms of the story, the world, the characters. It's really, really good, and I think it deserves a 10 out of 10. Absolutely. So overall, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to go down in history as one of the best games of all time, I think, and it's definitely going to change the way that open world games work. But my overall rating of the game is going to be a 9 out of 10. So, I mean, a 9 out of 10 I think is great, and I mean, I could even say on a personal level that I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. But definitely feel like it deserves its rating and it deserves its place. Anyways, guys, let me know down in the comment section if you have the game. Have you played it yet? Are you planning on buying it? Are you just waiting on more reviews or the online mode, which that's going to be a completely different beast? Just let me know down in the comment section below, and deuces.